Well, welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Tanner O'Brien. I'm a senior partner here at Action Coach in Central Texas. And today I'm sitting down with Jonathan Newar, who is the co founder and CEO of Captain Experiences. I'm excited for this one, Jonathan. I'm so excited to have you here to jump in, to have some conversation. I was doing a little bit of research for this conversation here today and looking over the website and everything about what y'all do. And man, it just looks like fun. So I'm excited to kind of jump into that. Why don't we start with just a little bit of background? If you would, give the audience here a little bit about your background, like who is Jonathan, right? And then tell us a little bit about what y'all do over at Captain Experiences.
Sure, yeah. And thanks for having me, Tanner. So yeah, born and raised in Houston, Texas. Grew up fishing over there, upper, Galveston Bay, along the bayous in Houston. Yeah, went out of state to the University of Georgia, go Dogs. And then yeah, graduated, moved back home to Houston, was working in the oil and gas industry. When I was working in Houston, the company I was working for sold, and I said, "Hey guys, we always talk about it. Let's finally book that fishing trip." And they said, "Great job, Jonathan. You just nominated yourself to book a solid trip." Yeah, that's how it goes. So from there, I said, "Okay, you're on. How hard can it be?" Like I said, grew up fishing and just love it, but didn't know all these guides on a first name basis, right? So I Googled it. I Googled Galveston fishing charters. And it was that quintessential founders moment, that slap in the face where I just said, "Hey, if you can book an Airbnb or call an Uber, what's wrong with fishing?" So drove down to the docks on a whim, met with these guides, and they said, "Yeah, we'd love to list on a site that made it easy for us to earn more trips, manage our calendars, that sort of thing." From there, I said, "Hey, I think we really have something here." Drove the opposite way to Austin, teamed up with my co-founder Attison on the product side, and we launched CaptainExperiences.com in March of 2020. That was a pretty tricky time to launch a travel platform, to say the least. Yeah, a bit of a wrinkle in the plan. But yeah, we stuck with it, and we've now become the largest platform in the U.S. for booking fishing trips. Partnered with over 1,500 guides, and we feel like we're just getting started. Our mission is to unlock the outdoors across all outdoor sports and geographies. So that's where we're headed.
Oh man, that is so cool. I'm excited to kind of dive into it, especially kind of your background and passion being able to kind of lead into this thing here. But before we do, I always like to kind of, I don't know, set the stage a little bit, just kind of get a sense of like where the business is at, kind of your role within the business, that sort of thing, so that, the viewers have some context, right? So when you look at your role in the business today, so introduced you as co-founder and CEO, you're a couple years into the business at this point. I imagine the roles and responsibilities have grown or shifted potentially over that time. But what does it mean to kind of be the CEO of the business today? How many different hats do you have to wear within in the business at this point in time?
Yeah, I mean it's a lot of different hats, but the way that I sort of summarize everything is that, I'm just in charge of keeping the lights on for everybody, So it's really, we've got a team of 10 people now, so it's just about setting them up for success, understanding what they need to be their best, and then following up and making that happen.
Very cool. And so you got a team of 10, what are some of the roles within it? So you mentioned this being more of a platform based thing. What types of roles do you have within the company as you've grown from start to 3 almost 4 years in now?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so yeah, in the early days, my co-founder Addison and I were doing everything, ourselves, and we've slowly started, raising the bar in terms of the talent that we're bringing on. So yeah, my co-founder Addison is our CTO. We have two engineers, Brian and Adam, that work with Addison on that front. We have Jake, who's our director of marketing, really sort of a one-man band at this point on the marketing side. And then, yeah, we've got a lot of people in the operations part of the business. What we always say is, yeah, Captain is a tech business. We're a marketplace, but it's really a people business. We're connecting our adventures with our guides. We're providing that personal touch. And so that comes through with David, our senior guide onboarding manager. I joke that he has everyone's dream job, which is to call guides and talk fishing all day. And then we also have Ashley and Trey on the customer service side of it.
Oh, very cool. Which this just brings it fun for me because I get to ask the next question, which is essentially, when we start talking about what makes your business so special, I always like to, who primarily does the business serve? And, the reason I ask it is I like to set up in the frame of like, if I'm in the audience and I'm watching this later on and, or listening to this later on, how do I know that I'm a really good fit for your business, or I might know somebody who's a good fit? So I have to imagine there's kind of two markets here based on what you had just mentioned from onboarding guides to the actual end user of using the website. So maybe kind of talk through maybe a little bit of both of those in terms of if I'm in the audience and I'm watching this later on, how do I know I'm a good fit for what y'all do?
Definitely. So yeah, I mean, the way that we break it out on the supply side is that we partner with guides, lodges, and outfitters. So a guide is just, an individual guide, one boat, offering trips themselves. An outfitter is basically a collective of guides. So it might be a guide who started out as a guide, but now they've grown their business. They've scaled to, 3, 4 boats, and they have others, working under them to run those trips. And then we have lodges, which is, somewhat self-explanatory. They provide the trips, the housing, the meals, the whole, the whole thing. And then, yeah, on the demand side, we've got our adventurers. And so we've got a few different buckets there. We have what we call our bucket listers. And those are, guys and gals who, are super passionate about the outdoors, and they say, hey, I want to catch a redfish in Texas, a tarpon in Florida, a salmon in Alaska. And so they're using Captain to book all of those different off the map spots. Then we've got our BPOs, our bachelor party outdoorsmen or bachelorette party outdoorswomen. And they're, booking a little bit less frequently, but that when they book, they're getting, multiple boats out there, big whole, exercise. And then we've got our regulars, and these are just, families here in Austin, in Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, wherever it may be, driving down to South Padre, Port Aransas, Galveston. And yeah, getting 3 generations of the family out there, teaching the kids, all that awesome stuff. A lot of that going on this Easter weekend.
I can imagine so, especially with it being so nice here in Central Texas for this weekend. It looks like it's gonna be beautiful.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
I'm getting out Sunday morning with my brother-in-law and father-in-law, so just yeah, stoked about that.
That's awesome. So what when you look at competitors in the marketplace, obviously, what you mentioned earlier is kind of seeing a gap that you could kind of fill and being able to jump into it. What does it look like for the competitive landscape today? Are there others that do something very similar to what you do at this point? Are you still kind of a market leader? What does that look like from a competitive landscape?
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely some others out there. But what we've heard from our adventures is that they have like more of a Craigslisty, feel. Craigslist, great business, didn't mean it. But what we've heard is that Captain has more of a polished feel, and our understanding and that personalization, our first name relationship with our guides really comes through on the site in the content that that we're featuring there. And so, that really gives people the comfort to book with Captain. And then another one that we frequently get is, hey, how are you guys different, from some of these other experiences platforms? And yeah, I mean, the answer is that what we hear from our adventurers is that they actively avoid those touristy platforms that they associate with Segway tours, wine tastings, museum tickets, things like that. They're just avoiding those when they're looking for an awesome off the map tuna trip.
Nice. So when you talk about, or when we talk about marketing in general, I always like to ask a few questions about it, especially,
Yeah.
for many business owners out there, it's not always the most easy one to, thing to connect with. It takes a little bit of time to learn it and start figuring out how to do it. So I always like asking some questions like what worked, what hasn't worked, all that kind of stuff. And knowing that you kind of have the two different markets from the supply side, the demand side, how do you get in front of those folks? How do you get in front of those markets and let them know that y'all exist and it'd be good to work with y'all? Kind of what have you found to be successful for each of those markets when it comes to marketing and getting in front of them?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, understanding your customer. And so, yeah, in those early days, I was walking the docks, asking our guides, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Like, yes to this, no to that. Okay, well, boom, there you go. That's what we got to build. And so, yeah, from there, it was just, more or less direct sales, reaching out to the guides, letting them know the value prop that again, was created from speaking with guides just like them. And then, yeah, they go ahead and sign up, and then you've kind of seeded the marketplace, and you've cracked the chicken or egg. So then it's like, okay, well, now let's go, get demand, get these adventurers. And yeah, I mean, we initially had a lot of success there. doing events and things again, to just talk to people and get in front of them. And then our first scalable channel was SEO, search engine optimization. So again, if you go back to my problem statement, at work in Houston, I Googled Galveston fishing charters. Let's go start there, right? And so Addison and I really pinned our ears back, learn the ins and outs of SEO, and it's been one of our top acquisition channels, if not the top channel historically.
Oh, I love that. And that was gonna be my guess if I had to guess. I'm like, people got to be searching for this stuff, right? So it's really cool to kind of see that is kind of how that's come together. And I love the fact that there's just some direct sales in terms of like, let's walk the docks and actually go talk to people to bring them on board in terms of guides and that sort of thing. Kind of, that's some of the lessons I think is important for a lot of business owners out there, especially if it is, so, almost kind of make that more akin to, some B2B type stuff. And I mean, frankly, you got to get out there and do some direct
Yeah,
conversations from time to time. So,
definitely.
uh, no, I love it. So, it's we talked a lot about kind of the business itself. Let's talk a little bit more about your journey. So you got into this thing by finding a gap in the marketplace that you wanted to fill. But let's peel it all the way back for a second. How did you get like excited about the industry? How did you get passionate about fishing and kind of what led you down that path earlier on in your life?
Yeah, I mean, I think growing up, fishing was just like, another sport. And I like grew up playing team sports all the time, like that was basically it, anything with a ball, basketball, football, lacrosse, baseball, you name it. But then, as you graduate, college and everything, you're not really doing that. I tore my Achilles last year playing pickleball, right? It's like, come on, we're past that. Um, and so from there, it was like, okay, well, like what's left, for me, that was fishing. And so fishing like really just like took over and became that passion. And then, yeah, I mean, this idea just, hit me on the head and I was like, hey, why is there not an Airbnb for all of these outdoor sports? And so, yeah, brought that around to some people and they were like, hey, like you'd be stupid not to pursue this. And so, yeah, from there, I just kind of bit the bullet and dove in and, yeah, it's been a really, really rewarding experience.
Oh, that's so cool. Do you have a like favorite fishing trip or type of fishing experience that you've been on that just like hits kind of the top of your excitement meter?
Yeah, so I personally love fishing with artificial lures inshore. And so yeah, I mean we've got this trip with Captain Larry down in Rockport, fishing with artificials. And so yeah, I mean that's fun. You're wade fishing in, a foot and a half, 2 feet of water, just casting at these fish that you can often see tailing. And then yeah, when you're fishing with these artificials, they'll really just come out of nowhere and smash it. And so yeah, it's just so much fun. That's what I like most. My happy place.
I love it. That is fantastic. So kind of pulling it back to, the business journey, what are some like roadblocks or hurdles that you've had to overcome business wise or kind of some major lessons that stand out in your mind that kind of have catapulted or allowed you to become, the level of success that you are today? Is there like a moment or two or a lesson or two that kind of stand out in your mind that'd be kind of worthwhile to share with the audience?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd have to go all the way back to COVID. Yeah, I mean, we launched Captain in March of 2020. I mean, I remember looking over my laptop, had CNBC on, and the talking heads were all yelling, no one's going to leave their house in years, all this stuff. And just kind of, went head down for a second and thought, what are we doing launching essentially a travel platform, at the height of the pandemic. But really we said, hey, look, like this could be, a boon for us. And, frankly, we probably weren't ready to launch the platform at this stage. So this bought us a couple more months. Let's not, go and push marketing and everything. Let's just like get the site set up, do a better job. And then, yeah, lo and behold, 2021 really turned into a tailwind as, people got really interested in the outdoors. Everybody was working from home, and, viewed getting out with our guides as a way to, interact with everyone that they're sort of quarantining with, and getting outdoors, and our guides were masked up and disinfecting everything. And so, yeah, it really, yeah, sort of catapulted the business. And now that interest in the outdoors has proven sticky. And so the participation base is up every year, I think since 2014 or so. So yeah, it's been great.
Nice. How about as you look towards the future and you look, just kind of forecasting your vision to the next, we'll say 3 to 5 years. Where do you see that kind of the business going from here? How do you see kind of your role changing as the business continues to grow and mature?
Yeah, I mean, I think my role will just sort of take care of itself. I'll just sort of get in where I fit in and help people out. Wherever is needed, and put out the most pressing fire, and then move on to the other one. In terms of the business, yeah, I mean, just incredibly excited about the future. Like I said, we're focused predominantly on fishing in the Southeast today. We did launch some hunting in Texas and Florida this past fall, which was great. But that's basically it. And I think we're really doing a good job. But everybody on the team is just itching like crazy to grow captain across all outdoor sports and geographies. So that's going to keep us busy for quite some time.
I love it. Do you see an expansion of like opportunities within fishing just at a larger geographic base as kind of being the next kind of growth metric, or is it really starting to layer in additional experiences, outdoor experiences in sports and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can go a lot deeper into fishing. Like thinking about the guides and their businesses, we can invest further in some of our features like calendaring and pricing, and really help our guides, understand all of those different things to help them run their business. Maybe even start providing them with discounted rods, reels, tackle, lures, boat financing, all these different things that we want to help our guides with. So yeah, I mean, sky's the limit, in terms of going deeper and wider with verticals and geographies.
I love it. Well, I'm excited to see a lot of that, take place over the next couple of years as well. Let's say, before we start to kind of move into some of the wrap up questions, since you've got, a 10-person team, I always love to ask a few questions around team where I can. And I'd love to know, growing over the last couple of years and having 10 people on the team now, kind of what has been the approach, or what have you found to be most effective when it comes to like recruiting and hiring, the best people to be a part of your team?
Yeah, I mean, I think we just try to look for people that we really gel with. We have this we have our cultural pillars: make it personal, be transparent, be passionate. That we have everyone sort of adhere to. But then beyond that, we've got this little thing that we say, which is 6 beers deep, and that means really just kind of be personal, be yourself, be authentic, and put yourself out there. And if it's a match, it's a match. And then we also have this other question we just like to ask, what's the hardest thing you've ever done in your life? And that one sort of hits people in interesting ways, and it's always great to hear those responses.
Ooh, I like that. I might have to steal that one and
Sure.
leverage it on my own end at some point here. But that's really cool. So we've covered a lot of ground. I know we could probably sit here and like dive into a lot of different depth of areas in your business
Yeah.
specifically. But I want to be respectful of time. And I got a few rapid fire questions just to kind of pull some wisdom nuggets out for the audience here. So when you look at kind of your journey overall from before starting the business to starting the business, kind of where you're at today, what would you say for you has been kind of your key to success?
I don't know. I would just say resilience, perseverance. We don't try to um, you know, trick anybody into thinking we're the smartest people out there, but we just roll with the punches.
I like it. How about advice? If you could give just one piece of advice for other entrepreneurs or business owners out there today, what piece of advice would you want to leave them with?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, and I guess this is biased from my background, but don't go looking for a problem. It's great, when that sort of thing happens and you realize it. But I think some people try to force a solution for a problem that doesn't exist. And the other thing that goes with this is just being passionate about what you're building. Otherwise, it's not worth it, frankly.
It's a great piece of advice. Uh, Book recommendation or learning recommendation. I kind of throw it out there because I know not everybody's a huge book reader, but if you've got any book recommendations for the audience, it can be a book you've read recently or maybe currently reading, or it could be a podcast that you love listening to, or anything like that that you would recommend for the audience.
Yeah, I mean, I 0 to 1. I'm sure this one comes up a lot, by Peter Thiel. That's just a great one in terms of starting out, getting out of the blocks. And then yeah, I mean blogs that we really reference for marketplaces. Lenny Rachitsky has a great blog. He was previously at Airbnb, but it's how to kickstart and scale a marketplace. And then Bill Gurley just has a bunch of stuff on his blog, Above the Crowd, and countless others. But yeah, I mean we've reference all of these marketplace leaders, on these blogs throughout, and you can really give yourself an MBA in this stuff.
That's fantastic. All right, we'll do one more rapid fire question before we get into kind of the final wrap up. And this one's just kind of fun. If you could take a little bit of magic dust and you could apply it over, just one area in your business, and that's the key. You can only choose one spot. Put it over one spot in your business, take a little bit of that magic dust. You wake up tomorrow, it's like 10 times better than it is today. Where would you currently choose to put that magic dust?
Oh man, this is a fantastic question. Man, I mean, I would say I'll say two things. One is like the by the book answer, and the other is my personal. The by the book is liquidity, and so like what we're always trying to do is balance supply and demand, because it's never fun if we have an adventurer that goes to a location where they don't have enough, options to choose from. And then yeah, my personal answer is content. Like there's so much that we can do. Each of our guides has a real in-depth, fantastic, life story. And we need to do a much better job bringing that to light for people. And so, yeah, that's my answer.
I like that. That's a really cool answer. So for those that are watching that are like, man, this sounds awesome, and I've got to check it all out, and maybe want to either follow you and kind of keep up with the things that y'all are doing. But where can we advise folks to go for more information?
Yeah, you can come visit us at captainexperiences.com, or shoot us a text, give us a call at 833 Captain.
Perfect. Making note of all that because I'm going to throw that in the video description below. So as we wrap up this conversation, for those of you that are watching, make sure you go click all of the links, check it all out, spend some time, just like peruse around on the website there. I know I did leading up to this. It was super cool, and I may have to book myself a trip here in the near future. So
There you go.
um, yeah. So Jonathan, as we wrap up, I have one final question that I always like to kind of end these conversations on, and that is simply, what is most inspiring to you today?
Oh, most inspiring. I mean, I guess I would just say, other founders out there. I think that it's a tough slog. Like I said, very rewarding. But when I see others that are doing, awesome, amazing things, regardless of what sort of industry, I think that's really inspiring.
That's awesome. Jonathan, I want to say thank you again. This has been a pleasure. I know I could probably sit here and like chat with you for much longer than we have here today. But it's been a lot of fun to kind of hear your story, how kind of everything came about and kind of where y'all are at and where you're going. It's fantastic to see. And I just want to say thank you for taking some time to share it with us today.
Thanks for having me, Tanner. Really enjoyed it.